stand up. So we just watched the video Math Antics about perimeter. And one thing that I want you to do in your notes right now is I want you to go ahead and give yourself a title, perimeter. And I want you to put this definition underneath. Perimeter, if you heard in the video, is the shortest distance possible around a shape. The shortest distance possible. Automatically, some things come to my mind when I think about perimeter. I'm going to put a few examples here. These are examples of things that I've seen in 5th grade and really in real life. We can find the perimeter of our yard. I bet a lot of you live in a yard where there's a fence. And if you're having to buy a new fence, then you need to know the perimeter. The obvious one that comes to mind is the shape. If we have a shape and we want to know the distance around that shape, we can find the perimeter of that shape. And remember, if you have a shape like this, let's say that it looks like a triangle, that really what you're doing is you're taking each one of these line segments and you're stretching it out. So there's line segment 1, here's line segment 2, there's line segment 3. It becomes a straight line. So then what you're doing is you're measuring the line, or you're measuring the length. And I think if you'll just think about the outline being stretched out like a string, that will help you. Most of the time when I talk about perimeter, boys and girls get that mixed up with area. Area is something that we're going to talk about later. Because you use a different action when we're talking about area. Why do you think we're going to talk about perimeter today? What actions have we been talking about the last couple of days, Travis?
Adding and subtracting.
We've been talking about adding and subtracting. And so to find the perimeter, we're going to add. You're just going to add up the sides. You're going to have that opportunity today. Before I move on though, I do want to add one little thing. Sometimes you may not have shapes with odd sides like that triangle or maybe even a pentagon, but you may have a shape that looks more like this. A shape that has opposite sides are congruent, meaning the side length of this side is the same as the side length of that side. And the top length is the same as the bottom length. Can anybody tell me what this polygon that I'm looking at is called? What is this polygon called, Parker? It's called a rectangle. We'll do more of a really deep study about shapes later on in the year. But for now, here's what I know. If I said that the top of this figure was 6 2/10 centimeters, and the side length was 1 5/10 centimeters.
You did 5
1/10. Sorry, I'm getting things backwards today. It's backwards Wednesday. Didn't you know that?
Yes.
I'm teasing.
Not opposite.
If you're on the video, I apologize.
It's not changing.
6 2/10 centimeters. 5 1/10 centimeters. So here's a couple of things you don't know, or you may know. If I have this little marking right here, and I have that same marking on the opposite side, but there's no specific measurement next to it, then we know that these are the same. So we can fill that in. And I encourage boys and girls to always fill in the missing information. If we know that this top length is 6 2/10 centimeters, and we see these lines, and then we see these identical lines below, but no measurement, what can we assume about the bottom length?
It's the same.
It is the same. Now, of course, if I wanted to find the perimeter of this, I could say 6.2 plus 6.2 plus 5.1 plus 5.1 equals, and I'm going to use P for perimeter. But I want to challenge you right now, because we've been talking about equations and expressions. And do you see a more efficient way of writing this? What would be a more efficient way of writing that stuff? What do you think, Hunter?
Well, I wasn't to say about the equation, but something I do if there's only two measurements, and I see that the two of the four sides are equal, like on a rectangle. It only shows two measurements, so I add those two measurements and multiply it by 2.
So he says you might see it more like this: 6.2 plus 5.1 times 2. Could that give me the same answer? We add this, we add this, we multiply it by 2 because we have double of those. Would that give me the answer? Is that the only way we could write it? Oh. Who can give me another way? Breland? Briley. I did.
Okay, so after you wrote it that way, I did it like, I put it like, after you wrote it like the first way, I did little triangles like go down, then you add those two together, and then it equals your answer. So you did, so you see how I did it?
So here's what I'm thinking. Are you saying that we have 6 2/10 2 times?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And we have 5 1/10 2 times.
Yes.
And then what would I need to do with these pieces of information?
You add
I could put them together to still get the perimeter. Does all of this information equal the same thing? It should.
It's fine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we put our tenths together right now, we could say that these two pieces of information are 10.2. And this is 12.4. Oops. And if I put that together, I get 6 and 22. 22 and 6/10. Am I adding correctly? Check my math, because I might make a mistake this morning. If I put these together, I get 3. And then I get 11. 11 and 3/10. And if I double that, I get 6. 22 and 6/10. Same answer.
Don't you need to add the centimeters?
I do. Thank you. And if I did this, 6 and 2/10 times 2, that's 2 groups of 6 and 2/10 plus 2 groups of 5 and 1/10. And if I put that together, will I get the same answer? All of those should give me 22 and 6/10. So my point being, as we are getting into perimeter, when you see an opportunity where you can make more sense, where you can be a little more efficient, should you use efficiency to help you add faster? Yeah. Okay. Now, if that is still a little fuzzy for you, a little confusing, can you always go back to just plain old add?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, sometimes if I'm in a hurry, it's just so much easier just to add. I'm not going to lie. Okay? Any other questions? All right. And that's all I have for notes today.